We know humans first came into existence around 200 to 300,000 years ago. This era was far before history started being recorded. Hence, there are a lot of question marks regarding our predecessors that needs to be fulfilled. Fortunately, fossils like animal bones, ancient weapons, human tools, etc. convey a lot of information about the lifestyle of older civilizations. But sometimes, instead of solving problems, they create a large debate about the human origin. Out-of-place artifacts do a similar thing. These artifacts are discovered in locations that are dated to be extremely old, sometimes even billions of years old, yet they show such advancements, which was not known for that time. So let's talk about 5 more out-of-place artifacts that'll blow your mind. This is the 6th video on our out-of-place artifact series. If you haven't already, check out the other videos in the description below. The Quimbaya artifact. If you've ever visited the Gold Museum of Bogota, a tourist attraction in Colombia, you'll be confronted by these spectacular gold ornaments that are 1,000 years old. These artifacts are also called the Quimbaya artifact, as they belong to the ancient civilization of Quimbaya. So if these are just random ornaments, why call them old parts at all? Because it's not just one, but there are around 17 of them that look like miniature airplane models. As far as archaeologists are concerned, they believe that these models are birds and not aircrafts, as the ancient Colombian people were considered to be primitive and not much advanced in aerodynamics. However, it's hard not to ignore the uncanny similarity between modern-day aircrafts and these old parts. If you look closely, you'll see that the wings are attached below the body and not above it, since birds have wings attached to the upper part of the body, while aircrafts have them beneath the surface. Another striking resemblance is the upward pointing tail on these models that are representative of an airplane model. Birds have their tails sideways and not upwards. Experts say that these are just mere coincidences, and the craftsmen didn't pay much attention to the correct details of the bird. The claim that ancient Colombians didn't pay attention to detail is a little unfair, because you can see actual gold models of birds within the museum. The birds in the museum has beaks, eyes, sophisticated patterns, and sideways tails, making it clear that it's a reference to avian species. To further test these airplane figurines, 2 engineers created large versions of them with some control buttons inside. To their surprise, they flew like regular toy aircrafts, demonstrating that the construction is on point. On top of that, their skill isn't just restricted to animals and spacecrafts. It seems that they have other modern-day tools to help with daily life. Objects that look like coils, wheels, and gears show that the Colombians were perhaps not as primitive as they were thought to be. The scientific stance is that they're just random beautiful models, and their resemblance to current tools is just a coincidence. So what do you think about the Quimbaya artifact? Were these just birds that were mistaken for airplanes, similar to the Saqqara bird artifact? Or are they truly modeled after airplanes? Let me know what you think. Ural Mountains Nanotech. In the early 1990s, Russian archaeologists were conducting a geological survey of the Ural Mountains in the hopes of finding gold. Instead, they found rather strange microscopic objects, about a few centimeters in size, along the Narada, Nozin, and Balbayu rivers. This included things like metal coils, spirals, and other tiny objects that could have been part of some advanced machinery. But that's not the most surprising part. They found them embedded at a depth of 3 to 12 meters in a rock known to be 100,000 years old. Researchers have estimated that the age of these miniature metal parts must be at least 300,000 years old. However, many believe the possibility that these micro and nano-sized objects must have fallen off from a missile from a launch site in Placet. A report in 1996 ruled out this possibility as they were discovered at great depth. The smallest of them was just 0.0003 millimeters. To create extremely small structures like these, one needs the help of sophisticated technology, as it's beyond human skill to create something this tiny. This led people to question whether an intelligent extraterrestrial species was involved in the creation of such spectacular objects a long time ago. To solve this puzzle further, the Russian Academy of Science in Syktyvkar ran extensive tests on these nano-objects. The ones that are larger in size were composed of pure copper, while the smaller ones were a mixture of tungsten and molybdenum, the same elements used in spacecrafts and airplanes owing to their high temperature tolerance. The scientists that were part of this study unanimously agreed that there were no such technology 300,000 years ago to develop the items in question. If for a second we imagine that there is no extra interference of either human or extraterrestrial species, this leaves us with only one option: that these objects are naturally formed. As the case took more serious turns, these objects were subjected to further research in institutions in Helsinki, St. Petersburg, and Moscow. It concluded that these objects didn't arise in nature and thus were artificially manufactured, which is quite understandable as you look at the neat and regular designs of these structures. The coin in Illinois rock. In 1870, during the drilling of an artesian well in Long Ridge, 20 miles off of Illinois, a coin-like object was discovered. It was found by one of the workmen, Jacob W. Moffett, from a depth of 114 meters. The coin was decorated on both sides, like a regular coin of the century, and was later found to be made of an indeterminate copper alloy. The size and thickness greatly resembled that of an American quarter of that time period. As we mentioned earlier, there were sketches on both sides of the coin. One side had a human figure with a crown and another person, possibly its child. Although it's difficult to decipher the drawing, the best guess is that it's a representation of some monarch or ruler of that time. Others might say that this is a warrior in the traditional headdress fighting his enemy. The other side is equally as peculiar. There's an animal featured in the center, with long ears, prominent eyes, claw-like arms, and a long tail. There's also a horse near the periphery of the coin. One of the important reasons that make it look like an actual penny is that it has uniform thickness and defined edges. Another eyewitness, William, reported the artifact's description to the American Philosophical Society. According to him, the coin showed marks of being passed through a rolling mill because the edges bear signs of machine manufacturing. As for the images on both sides, they appear to be etched by acid. One of the most passionate defenders of this old part is Professor Winchell, who claimed that this coin was 200 to 400,000 years old. This was way before coins were developed and used in trading, which started in the first millennium BC in the Mediterranean region. Furthermore, the coin was made of copper alloy, a material not produced in ancient North America. Both of these facts give this coin the status of an opart. The object was presented to the Geological Section of the American Association at its meeting in Buffalo, New York in 1876. One of the participants declared that this artifact might be a practical joke, dropped by some wandering French or Spanish traveler in the hole. In addition, he also claimed that the images represent astrological signs rather than a human. Professor Winchell argued that it couldn't be a hoax, because why would someone drop the coin to such a depth in the hopes that someone, centuries, will drill at the exact spot? Acambaro figures. These artifacts might be the most mind-boggling of all, as not just one, but 33,000 clay figurines of dinosaurs were unveiled at Acambaro, Mexico. These carved models were discovered in 1944 and are thought to be the craft of some ancient unknown civilization. The clay models not only depict dinosaurs, but also humans being eaten by them, some of them riding on their backs. The Acambaro figures revive the old debate of whether dinosaurs coexisted with human beings at the same time, since the archaeological community believes that they became extinct 65 million years ago. Thus, ancient humans never saw dinosaurs, and therefore couldn't have created such models. People outside the scientific community argue that if these figures are indeed a hoax, then how come there are thousands of them instead of just one or two? In the midst of all this chaos, dating the objects seemed to be the most only logical solution left. Many years later, Museum's Applied Science Center for Archaeology tried to date some of these figurines, and the result was that they actually belonged to 2500 BC. However, some serious questions were raised regarding the accuracy of the results, as the technique used was primitive. When it was enhanced and the models were dated again, it showed that the Attenborough figures are recent and not old. This left the world divided again without any meaningful conclusion. In 1952, an archaeologist, Charles Di Peso, who represented the Ameren Foundation in Arizona, studied the collection. His analysis was that these models are fakes, because there are no solid signs of aging on them, like dirt and crevices or worn out surfaces. In addition, he said that ancient objects are almost always found broken or missing a few parts. Except for only a few, most of the Attenborough figures were found intact in one piece. The conflict was fueled even further when museum director Froelich Rainey was asked to look into the matter. A museum exhibit called Genuine Ancient or Comic Book Art was created, which contained both sides of the argument. Pictures of the Attenborough figures were compared side by side with comic book images of dragons that are thought to have inspired this artifact. So what do you guys think? Are these genuinely ancient or truly comic book art? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The Gympie Pyramid. As you might have figured from the name, a pyramid-shaped earthen terrace, also known as Rocky Ridge, was unveiled in 1975 in Queensland. It was discovered by a man named Rex Gilroy, who claimed it to be a pyramid. Many began believing that it's one evidence of the presence of ancient Egyptians in Australia. The blame was later shifted to other ethnicities like Chinese, South Americans, Aboriginal natives, Phoenician, and even extraterrestrial species. They were thought to be carrying out mining operations in the area. The pyramid structure came with cultural significance for Australians. However, historians think that it was taken way too seriously. The reason lies beneath a simple explanation. A farmer in the 1880s constructed the terrace and wall to slow down erosion. A respected historian, Elaine Brown, says that Rocky Ridge is just a rocky ridge. She based her conclusion on interviewing traditional owners whose names are also saved in the official records. When the government geologist saw the artifact in 1868, he described it as a stratified quartz structure of an older date. He didn't mention seeing any pyramids there. Visited the place later, she described it as a bunch of water-worn pebbles assembled into a quartz shape. Despite all of this, the locals remained intrigued by this terrace and are protesting for its retention because of the recent highway construction. Some of the previous mentioned stories might take another 100 years to solve the mysteries. Even the ones that are sorted out by the archaeologist, it's hard to convince the public who attaches great importance to them. Which of the old parts mentioned in this video do you think is genuine or fake? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching our Late Night Top 5 channel. We're a new channel and would love to have your support by subscribing, liking, or simply dropping a comment down below. To watch more interesting late night videos, click the links to continue watching more.